Space, the final frontier. This is the Observer's Notebook, the official podcast of the Association of Lunar and Planetary Observers. Its mission to explore the solar system, to seek out new observations and data, to boldly go where no podcast has gone before. And now the host of the Observer's Notebook, Tim Robertson.
Hello and welcome to episode 180 of the Observer's Notebook, the official podcast of the Association of Lunar and Planetary Observers. I'm Tim Robertson, the host of the podcast and also the coordinator of the training program within the ALPO. Thank you for downloading and listening. The Association of Lunar and Planetary Observers collects and analyzes various solar system bodies and associated phenomena and publishes detailed reports concerning these bodies in its quarterly publication, the Journal of the Association of Lunar and Planetary Observers. This podcast depends upon donations from you, our listeners, to keep it alive. If you enjoy what you hear in the podcast, you can donate to it via Patreon. You can start off by giving as little as $1 a month. If you feel even more generous, for $5, you receive early access to the podcast before it goes public. For a monthly donation of $10, you receive a copy of the Novice Observer's Handbook. And for $35 a month, you will receive producer credits on the podcast. You can help us out by going to www.patreon.com/observersnotebook. If you'd like to join the ALPO, membership begins at only $22 a year. For more information, you can find us at www.alpo-astronomy.org. And you can also find us on Facebook. Just search for ALPO Astronomy, and this podcast also has a Facebook page as well. Just search for Observer's Notebook. And if you enjoy what you hear in the podcast, please subscribe. That way you'll never miss another episode. And now, episode 180, and we're going to talk to the Executive Director of the ALPO, Ken Poshedly. Enjoy. All right, I'd like to welcome everybody back to this edition of the Observer's Notebook podcast. And today we have Ken Poshedly, the new, relatively new, Executive Director of the ALPO. Welcome back to the podcast, Ken.
I'd say good afternoon, good morning, but let's just say good day.
There you go.
I have no idea where you guys are.
And today I want to discuss the state of the ALPO. So where you think it's at and what you want to do as executive director and that type of thing. Okay.
Good.
All right. So let's before we get into it, let's talk about membership numbers. I mean, where are we currently at? Where would you like to see us go?
The ALPO, like all organizations, struggles to grow. It maintains, but it struggles to grow. And I believe that the internet has been a curse and a blessing in this area, not only for astronomy, but for professional organizations, for hobby organizations of all kinds. You have businesses that no longer want to fund their employees' professional memberships, and thus the organizations drop. And I've experienced that myself as a long time member of a group called the Society for Technical Communication. It used to be huge, and now it's still there, but it's a professional organization. The ALPO is a quasi-professional organization with its membership including not only serious amateurs, but several, at least as far as I know, several professional astronomers. And as such, it's harder to find people who would like to do more than just throw us images and reports, but actually become a paid member of the organization. So I was chatting with other officers of the ALPO, and there is the American Association of Variable Star Observers. We call it the AAVSO. Their organization is probably twice what we have. Our membership right now, our paid membership right now at the beginning of January, when we're recording this, of 2024, is just under 400, whereas the AAVSO is around 700 or so. Now, in its heyday, way back in the 80s, especially with Comet Halley, or is it Haley?
Halley.
I understand at that time, and that was before I was back in the organization, I think our membership was up around 1,000 or 900 or something like that.
Yeah, I believe so.
And I'd like to see that again. So it's nice to have a higher paid membership from the standpoint of having, well, among other things, bragging rights, but it also demonstrates how enthusiastic our members are. We are not that expensive. Our membership rate, as far as membership dues, bare bones, plain old 4 issues of our journal, The Strolling Astronomer, is only, what is it, Tim, $22 a year?
Yeah, $22 a year. That's for the digital issue, yeah.
That's right. It comes out quarterly. And of course, those members who prefer the hard copy will also get the digital version as well. But the hard copy membership itself is, I think, twice that, which is still, I think, less. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't that less than the membership for the AA VSO?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. And, we're talking about studying objects in the sky that are, for lack of a better term, dynamic. Jupiter being, 100 times larger than the Earth rotates in 11 hours. Mm-hmm. So you can observe it at 8 p.m. your time and go back and observe it around midnight the same evening. And you will be able to see, especially if you're looking at the Great Red Spot, that it has moved.
Right.
Okay. And
that's interesting that the AVSO, because they focus on variable stars.
Yes.
They're a highly specialized group of basically one type of star. And just, I used to be a member of them as well. I mean, but for them to double the membership, and we have the entire solar system at our disposal in our organization, and why our membership isn't larger is really mind-boggling to me.
Yeah. And the closest type of member we have to the AAVSO would probably be our minor planets section of people who make it their business to observe and record data about asteroids, minor planets. And they're able to come up with, and I swear I don't know how they do this, but I got to hand it to them. They come up with rotation rates and estimates of size and the possibilities of orbital characteristics, because, hey, you want to see that sucker coming at you, and it's just mind-boggling. These are people that get a real jolt out of looking at the finest, smallest point of light there can possibly be. And they're going to tell you reams of information about that object. Mm-hmm. And then we have our Venus section, our Saturn section, our Mars section, our remote planet section. I mean, you name it, comets, my God.
Yes.
It's just phenomenal, the good work that we can do. And we've just got to do a better job of getting the word out there to draw more, not just contributors, but people who seriously would like to be a formal member of our organization.
Yeah, and it's the interesting thing is a lot of our contributors to our journal and to the sections are not members of the ALPO.
Yep.
Which is, I don't know how to respond to that. It's frustrating, being on the board and knowing we want to increase our membership, and the people utilizing their journal as a vehicle to promote their observations, which is what they're basically doing, are doing it at no cost.
Yes, they like to get their name in print.
Yep.
And they like to be able to say that their image was used in this or that issue of the journal. We also have a bit of a uphill battle in getting people to consistently label their images correctly.
Well, that's a whole nother
thing. We need to know when it was taken, where it was taken, various equipment details, various atmospheric details. It's not that hard to do once you start doing it, but to just put a picture out there and say, "Oh, what a good boy am I," that's nice. But help me out here.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. We have zero plans to make people who submit observations force them to join. There's no plans to do that. So I want to put that on the table right now. Right now, that's not something we've ever we might have talked about, but we're not going to do.
You don't have to be a member to contribute, but it would really benefit the organization as a whole to have a larger paid membership, because we do more, I think.
Yeah, well, we could. And also, like, we run ads in the journal.
Yes.
And when we approach a company for the ads, they want to know, okay, how many people have eyeballs on the journal?
Yes, we want to specifically thank Sky Publishing, which is owned, of course, by the American Astronomical Society. And in this coming issue of the journal, which will be out hopefully in the middle of January, a little bit late, but it's there, we'll have a great ad from the American Astronomical Society. Plus, always have a great, beautifully full color ad on the inside front cover from Celestron. And then another of our consistent supporters is I think there's two gentlemen, but they both advertise at the same time. One does the cat's perch observing chair for those visual observers who are not so much into imaging, but they like to be at the scope. And his friend who does these beautiful finished wood, excuse me, wooden eyepiece and accessory cases. And they advertise in every issue of the journal. And we really want people to utilize these advertisers when they need to make a purchase of that kind.
Yeah, but we could. What I want to make point though is we could get additional advertising for the journal if our membership was larger.
That's right.
And that's really the thing. I mean, if you're submitting observations, we'd like you to join. It's $22 a year.
That's right.
That's all it takes. $22 a year to join. So we want to grow the organization. So that's I think that's your plan basically, to increase membership, isn't it?
Yeah, in general, slowly but surely. No arm twisting, just gentle, convincing that we need you. We want you to pay to belong to us because we could do more in the long run. So now the next thing is how to increase our membership. Well, generally, get the word out. Okay, how do you get the word out? Well, we do it by way of the journal. Not only do the paid membership get the journal, whether it's digitally or as a PDF file or as a hard copy, plus it's also supplied to various institutions, libraries, and research groups. Plus, we give free copies out to clubs that may be having a need. Well, like I get a few extra copies that I'll distribute at a local club meeting that I go to. But you've got to be seriously into solar system astronomy to appreciate what's in the journal.
Right.
I kind of kid around and tell people, if you can get past page 30 and they're not asleep, I've done a good job. But increasing the membership by way of publicity, whether it's by advertising, we're considering trying to come up with a list of news contacts from various news organizations that we could approach when there is a celestial activity going on that is solar system oriented, that we would serve as some sort of a expert opinion of.
Yeah, be the public information office for solar system events. Yes. It's very true. Yeah. All right. So since you brought up the journal, what kind of updates have we been making to the journal recently?
Tweaking is a good way. The journal started off many years ago as a mimeographed. I don't know how many pages, 8 or 10 pages or something like that every month. And then it developed into a more of an academic style publication for many, many years. And then my own background had been publications editing. And when I was asked to take over the realm in early 2001, I used my own professional judgment to turn it into more of an eye-catching but still very, very valuable piece of literature. So now I have it structured with three main portions. The first third I call Inside the ALPO, news about the organization, because the first thing I want you to see, and not stick it in the back, is stuff about what the various observing sections are doing and the various interest sections, such as the activities that you yourself handle. And then the next portion of the journal are what I call papers and presentations. This is the section that includes the science, the apparition reports, anything that has to do with solar system astronomy that is more professionally presented. And then that's followed by the third portion of the journal, which I call the ALPO resources, the who's who, what's what, who do you call, who do you email, what do you need to know about resources and contacts and stuff like that about the organization. So it's very valuable, and our page count now usually well exceeds that of, for instance, Sky and Telescope magazine. We're usually around 100 pages or so, sometimes more. And every issue, I try to fix it a little bit more. For instance, I started adding little graphics in front of the section reports.
Right.
I'm not sure if the word avatar or icon is the right term, but anyway, anything that catches your eye, because if it catches your eye, you are more apt to take a look at whatever that paragraph or two is talking about. The layout is such that I believe it's easier to read. We don't use, for instance, Arial except in headlines and photo or image captions. It's a tough font to read in big blocks of text. Serifed fonts like Times Roman, or in the case of our journal, I fell in love with the font called Souvenir. It's very similar to Times Roman, is much, much easier on the eyes, and you don't confuse the capital I with a lowercase l and stuff like that.
Okay.
It's just an easier font to read. And, we try to do the journal so that you'll want to read it and come away. Even if you don't read the whole thing straight through, you'll come away knowing more than you did before, and hopefully will want to read more.
It's very true. And we've also made some production changes on the journal too. You want to talk about those?
Yes. I in my own career, prior to formal retirement, back in August of 2018, after over 36 years as a professional technical writer and 10 years before that in mainstream publications editing for other organizations, I was familiar with not only doing the editing, but also all of the production side, the layout, the electronic layout, and so forth. And, I have a family, and I've put my family on hold many times in the past so that I could get the journal done. And it just got to be not overbearing, but, I'm at a stage in my life where it's time to not quit, but pass some of it on to someone or some other people. So we now use a third-party company that we forward our files to have them do what I used to do. So whereas I did it as a volunteer, we are paying to have it done, but it turns out that it is very cost effective. We're doing well. And if you didn't know as a reader that we're doing this, you would never know that we're doing this through a third party.
Yeah. What did we start, like 3 issues ago, something like that?
Yes, it was. I think this will be the third issue that we're using the third party company. And it's I might as well just give them public congratulations. They're called KGL, or is the company that we use to do the formal production side, the electronic layout. And then a sister company of theirs called Sheridan, or Sheridan Press, is who we use to print the hard copies for those members and organizations that prefer that. So a pat on the back to KGL for helping to do the production side, and Sheridan for doing a really great job on the printing and distribution of the hard copies.
Yeah, as an outsider looking in, I mean, that I haven't seen any change of the quality that you initially brought to the journal. So I see everything is pretty much staying the same, and it's really a seamless transition.
Well, as Elvis would say, thank you very much.
All right. Now, you have anything else on the journal you want to chat about?
I want to invite all of our listeners to consider contributing. Mm-hmm. When we have a celestial event, whether it's an eclipse, whether it's an occultation, I mean, the craziest things go on up there. Okay, Jupiter has, 2 billion moons now, or something like that. The 4 largest are the ones that we can see from here, the Galilean satellites. Not only do they orbit Jupiter, but once in a while, one will eclipse another of those little moons, mm-hmm. or moonlets. And for many years, we used to carry statistics, timing statistics of when this moon eclipsed the other moon. It's just kind of neat to see. Now, of course, that's handled now by automated equipment and so forth, but sometimes it's just neat to see it yourself that moment in time. So when we ask people to send in their observation reports, it doesn't have to be an image taken with a high-priced camera. It could be a few sentences or a few paragraphs about what you saw, when you saw it, what the sky conditions were like, maybe a description on a difference in the brightness of what you saw. Anything, as if you're talking with a friend about what you just saw last night. Write it up and send it in, and also consider joining. It's just the way it is. So we're asking everybody who is listening to this, go on out tonight, take a look up and see what there is that you can see. Yes, it's darn cold out there for some of us. And even the daytime people. Right now, the sun is very active.
Yes, it is. And
we have several people. Howard Eskelson is a physician in Florida who posts daily images of the sun. That doesn't mean that nobody else has to help out, but we really need everybody to continue supporting each other with what's going on. In many cases, we ask for mutual observations to verify that this happened and that happened.
Yeah, simultaneous, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, yes. That's very, very true. Yeah, and going along that, our sections are looking for help too. I mean, if you are an avid Jupiter observer, mm-hmm. and you want to help out the ALPO in a organization type capacity, maybe assist the Jupiter section coordinator in developing the apparition reports and things like that. Please, let us know. We're looking for volunteers all the time. If you have a specific interest in an area, if you love comets, I'm sure Carl would love to get some help too. So it's just like, it's always, if you want to get a little bit involved with a niche that you like in solar system observing, please reach out to Ken or myself or the section coordinator of that section.
If you like obvious things to observe, Jupiter is that big street light in the sky right now, high in the south, in the evening, and Venus is the likewise street light in the sky in the morning sky.
Right.
If you like a challenge, we double dare you, we triple dare you to be a consistent volunteer to help out Frank Melillo in the Mercury section.
Oh, there you go.
There you go. And he does it. Frank is a truly dedicated and proficient observer of the planet Mercury. Frank lives in Long Island, mm-hmm. and I'm still amazed at what he can come up with, because he will consistently do images and then compare them with images taken by, I think it was the Messenger.
Craft. Yeah.
And they are so close together. Now, of course, you're not going to get that great of an image compared to, a moon, a lunar image, but at mm-hmm. the same time, you can make out some details.
Oh, and every year for our conference, Frank always does a talk on the latest Mercury observations. And the stuff he comes up with, I'm just floored. I mean, how the amount of detail he sees and the type of observations he's making of Mercury. And a couple of years ago, he talked about Mercury's tail. You know?
We're coming up with an article in the spring issue of the journal about the sodium tail of Mercury. Yes.
Yeah, very cool.
By the way, you ever noticed that at the conference, especially, all of our talks, we gear towards 15 or 20 minutes, and Frank consistently goes over. He just can't help himself.
No, he can't. There's a couple that do that as well. And my job is to wrangle them in, and that's like herding cats sometimes. But leading from that section assistance, we have our 2024 conference coming up in the summertime.
Yes, we do. For all of you who have a pen, pencil, or other writing instrument, or a quick finger on the keypad, set aside the last weekend of July. I forgot if it's the 26th and 27th or 27th.
That's it.
Whatever it is. It'll be online. So you do not have to risk your life on an airliner this time. But what we do is have the sessions, we call them sessions, starting around 9-ish Eastern time, noonish Pacific time, and they are prearranged as you, the volunteers, want to talk about. And it's done by Zoom. And you must be a member of the ALPO to present a finding, to do a presentation. But anybody in the world is free and able to tune in to watch the presentations. And they run, let's see, correct me, if we start at 9 a.m. Eastern time, how many hours do we go?
We usually go.
Wait, we don't start at 9 a.m. We start later because we have to accommodate the Pacific.
Right.
How many hours do we go? I forgot.
We usually do about 5.5 to 6 hours per day.
Okay, and that's for 2 days.
Yep.
And we always worry, oh my God, we don't have enough. And then it follows that we wind up getting way too many people. We have to turn some away. And on Friday, now the first sessions will be on that Friday. The second, of course, will be on Saturday.
Right.
And then on Friday evening, we have a meeting of the ALPO Board of Directors. And again, that meeting is open to view by all members, paid members of the ALPO. You're able to watch and participate with questions and comments. And that's the way it should be. And then what we offer on Saturday evening, and we did this even from when we had in-person conferences, we have a featured speaker. And what comes to mind for me, one of the highlight speakers for me was Charles Wood, who does the lunar photo of the day. There's so many photos of the day, but his is the LPOD, which is now in repeat sequence.
Right.
They're repeating those from some years ago. But he did a absolutely top presentation on observing the moon, the features on the moon, the namings of features on the moon, and you're thinking, well, I've seen the moon. Not until you've seen Chuck's presentation on lunar nomenclature and so forth. You get a whole different take.
Yeah, I ran out that very night and I took the telescope out and I was looking at the moon because I got motivated from his talk.
Yeah. I just, he really made it interesting.
We've had some excellent keynote speakers, and also at the keynote address, we also do door prizes. Explore Scientific and other companies donate things that we'll raffle off. To anybody that lives in the continental United States that registered for the conference.
We have to underscore continental United States. We had an unfortunate situation some years ago where this really beautiful object was raffled off, and it was going to cost more than the value of the object to the guy. And he very, very gallantly donated it back. So so you do have to belong to you have to be a resident of the United States, whether that's Hawaii, Alaska, continental United States, or Puerto Rico. That's just the way it is.
Yeah. And registration information, a call for papers will go out probably in a couple months. Ken and I will probably do another podcast just highlighting the conference. So at that point, so look for details on that coming up, or you can go to our Facebook groups and see what we have there as well. And hopefully the website will have information on it too.
Yeah, which leads to another topic, the ALPO website.
Yes, sir. And
we've had pretty good luck with our website. I don't recall it being hacked.
Nope.
Before being hacked was a thing, it was pretty much left alone. And then since I forgot what year, we wound up moving it to a different provider, and it's been doing very well. But now we've decided to give it not just a facelift, but an entire whole new look. And that's in progress with the good due diligence of our assistant online coordinator, Jim Tomney.
Doing a great job.
He's doing a great job. I talked with Tim the other day. This is, as I said, we're talking now right after the first of the year. I talked with Jim only last week about something, and he has since issued not a newsletter, but an email to several of us about his progress on finding a resource that would assist him in what we need to have done. And he's done a really great job so far. And I would think that in the next several months, maybe we'll have some concrete news.
Yeah, I'm hoping for like at the end of the first quarter of 24.
Yes,
that would be ideal to get it out there to the world, because it's gorgeous. It's not a 1985 website like we currently have. It's a up to date with all the little bells and whistles on it. That's going to be really easy to navigate and get around, and the information is going to be easily accessible.
For what it's worth, the old site is still there, and many of you will find it just as valuable at alpo-astronomy.org.
Yep.
That's what it is. Doesn't matter if it's capitalized or not. That doesn't matter. And when you get to that page, I must confess that it is an older announcement on the very top announcing the availability of the winter issue a year ago. I've got to change that, and I will. But you will find a whole library full of various links to click on to go to this or that observing section or resources. At the top right corner, you will see a link to something called Section Galleries, which is a link to the various folders, online folders of images. And it just goes on and on and on. And you too can have your stuff there if you do it right.
That's right. There you go. Well said, Ken. All right. So as the executive director, do you have a vision for what year? It's a 2-year term you have, right?
It's a 2-year term, and it rotates alphabetically through the membership of our board of directors.
Wait, does that mean I'm next?
Unfortunately or fortunately. Yeah. And you've been extremely valuable as a support for me. You are definitely not a yes man. You're not a no man. You're very, very valuable in my estimation. I can bounce things off of you and get a good, honest opinion. So I value your help.
Yeah, well, my wife says I'm painfully honest at times. So that's. I think it's part of getting old there, Ken.
But my vision would be increased growth in a solid way. I don't want to see us, grow by 60, 70 people in a month and then wind up losing 50 of those people or something all at once. Our organization is for those who are seriously into lunar and planetary observations. It is what it is. What I sometimes do is I compare us to your local club. You join your local club because you are friends with them and they are probably your most valuable resource into purchasing or obtaining an instrument, how to use that instrument, and so forth and so on, where later on you'll probably or hopefully determine what kind of astronomy or equipment you like. Do you like refractor, Schmidt-Cassegrain, whatever? Do you like lunar and planetary? Do you like variable stars? Are you into occultations? You will find that kind of astronomy that really interests you and grabs you. And hopefully, once you settle on lunar and planetary, we will be your go-to group. And we will be able to use the skills that you picked up from your local club, which you're going to stay in touch with, just like I am. To stay current with whatever and be friends and have your potluck dinners and things. But you'll also be able to contribute to us and maybe even do presentations to your local club of some of the stuff that you've done for us.
That's right. That's very good. Yeah. Yeah. Perfect. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Send help.
No, we're actually we're pretty stable right now as an organization. It's just but like you mentioned earlier with Halley's Comet, our membership tripled, which events cause that. We're gonna have a bright comet later this year, and I imagine our membership will take a jump at that point too, because it normally does when there's a Mars opposition or some type of event happening in the sky. People want to be involved, and we are your go-to place for solar system observing.
Yes, very much so.
Cool.
That's basically it. We want to grow. We've just got to settle on the particulars of how to do it in a professional way, so that we can gain and hold on to those that have become part of us. Right.
Retaining members, not just getting members, but retaining members is very important to us.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, Ken, I want to thank you for coming on the podcast today, and I wish you well in your term as executive director.
Thank you.
Okay, get everything in order, get the budgets in order, so when I come along, I have an easy job.
Your day will come.
I know, I'm sure it will. All right, man. It's good chatting with you.
Thank you.
Well, that'll do it for this episode of the Observer's Notebook podcast. I again want to thank Ken Poshedly for coming up and talking about his plans and what he wants for the future of the ALPO. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you want to get involved, please contact us. We upload a new episode of the Observer's Notebook on the 1st and 15th of every month. You can subscribe to us on iTunes. If you do, please rate and review us. I really appreciate it. It helps out the channel. You can also listen to us on Apple Radio, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Google Play, Stitcher, Amazon Echo, Spotify, and the podcast is also available on the ALPO YouTube channel. And if you listen to it over there, please give it a thumbs up. You can also help support the podcast by donating to it via Patreon. You can give up to $35 a month, where you'll receive 1 year's membership to the LPO and producer credits on the podcast. And with that, I'd like to thank the producer of this podcast, Steve Siedentop, and Michael Moyer for their generous support. The link for Patreon is linked for the ALPO is in the show notes. If you'd like to get a hold of me, my email address is cometman@cometman.net or on Twitter at ObserversNBPod. And until next time, I hope as you always have clear and steady skies. Thanks for listening.